Michael Saylor is laughing at the CEO of VanEck when asked if the fluctuations in Bitcoin concern him. And so we're going to be going over that. I have a few different clips that I'm going to be sharing between the discussion of the VanEck CEO and Michael Saylor. And so he mentioned that he would be willing to pay double the price of Bitcoin. He thinks right now at $92,000 that he is getting cheap Bitcoin. He'd be willing to pay $180,000 for one Bitcoin. And so I definitely find that very interesting, right? He really has the big picture, the large outlook of where Bitcoin is heading. And so they also made one of their largest purchases this week, purchasing almost 51,000 Bitcoin, right, at all-time highs. And so that just shows his dedication to Bitcoin moving forward. And so if you enjoy this content, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe for future videos. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it here. Let's take a look at WEEX Exchange. We can see currently the price of Bitcoin's at $92,000. And if you're interested in buying Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, there is a link underneath the video to WEEX Exchange. Now, there is a promotion going on right now where you can earn a free $100 just by signing up using the link underneath the video and registering your phone number and email. And so this is very simple to do here, and I would highly recommend checking that out. Now, there is some other tasks down here that you could do as well to earn up to $20,000. And so let's go ahead and take a look at MicroStrategy here. They are continuing to buy Bitcoin, right? They first purchased Bitcoin back in 2020 here, and we can see that they are continuing to dollar cost average. Every single one of these green dots is a purchase here by MicroStrategy. And so last week they made a purchase here of about 27,000 Bitcoin. And now just yesterday they made another purchase of 51,780 Bitcoin valued at $4.6 billion. Now that is MicroStrategy's largest purchase of Bitcoin at all-time highs, right? That is crazy. MicroStrategy is continuing to dollar cost average. He's actually increasing the amount of money that he is using to buy Bitcoin. Now, in addition to that, we also have the head of digital assets at VanEck stating that VanEck endorses the strategic Bitcoin reserve, right? This is an investment firm that has assets under management exceeding $100 billion. They have just endorsed the strategy for Bitcoin being held as a reserve asset. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the clip here from Michael Saylor and the CEO of VanEck.
But I think 2025 is really year one of the gun going off, because now you've got a supportive White House, a supportive House in Congress, supportive regulators, you've got fair value accounting, and you have the example of the other 60 companies. You've got MicroStrategy, you've got Mara, you've got Semler Scientific, you've got MetaPlanet. And so I think this will be an exponential process that's going to pick up speed here.
Jan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, Michael, can you hear me?
I do. Hear you.
Listen, really nice to meet you for the first time. I'm wondering if you're ever surprised by Bitcoin price movements, either the depth of corrections or sort of the fact that that it might be in a trading range or then run up suddenly. Does anything ever surprise you, or do you just not pay attention to any of that noise?
I guess the only thing that surprises me is that people sell it to me so cheap. I always wonder, who are these people selling this to me and why? Because, I pay double. Yeah, so I'm surprised anybody's silly enough to still sell it, to tell you the truth, like after we've already said we're going to buy it all. But otherwise, I guess we're lucky we have a global market, and, you probably got people in Russia or China or offshore. Then you've always got the naked shorts, and there's always some Bloomberg jockey. I notice a lot of people have a lot of opinions on the internet, and oftentimes I'll post something, they haven't even read to the third sentence of the first paragraph before they utter their opinion. And so the world is full of people with a lot more money than they have time, and I guess those strong opinions backed by a lot of money that are shallowly or thinly held, I think that's what makes the market exciting. It's probably good at the end of the day.
I know you're very long-term oriented, but do you take the halving cycles into account? I mean, do you have a sort of expectations of how that will develop over the next several cycles?
I think the impact of the halvings is exponentially falling in the same way that they're falling. I think that this last halving we had this year is probably the last really significant one. I think at this point that the volume of financial interest and the liquidity in the market and the baseline demand is going to dwarf the impact of the next halving by an order of magnitude. So I think this one mattered this year. I don't think 28 matters. I think 32 is, we may not even notice. That's what I think. I think that the 4-year cycle is becoming exponentially less relevant. The structure of the Bitcoin market and the entire crypto asset market is dramatically changing with new entrants to the space, such that the protocol mattered a lot from 2009 to 2024. I think that all you need to know right now, right, is that we're almost out of Bitcoin. You have till 2035 to buy it. Then there's no more left for you. And then for the next 100 years, there's like a couple 100,000 Bitcoin that trickle out.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I guess sometime between now and 2035, the mining network flips over to transaction fees. And I can't tell you what quarter or what year. But otherwise, the halving is more significant for that than it is for the price action, I think.
And so you heard it there from Michael Saylor himself, mentioning that the halvings will become less relevant and that we have 10 years left to buy Bitcoin, until the amount of Bitcoin being mined becomes insignificant, right? It's going to become so small that miners are not going to be mining Bitcoin. And so it's definitely something to keep in mind, right? I mean, 10 years goes by quick. The halvings also may not have as big of an impact on the price of Bitcoin. So he also mentioned that the change in the administration is going to be very bullish for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies moving forward. And then he also mentioned a crypto tax law here. And so I want to talk about that here. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. We can see a new accounting rule may spur early adoption. And so this is going to be going live here on December 15th. And so right now, cryptocurrencies are classified as indefinite lived intangible assets to be accounted for using the costless impairment model. This model only recognizes, not increases, in crypto asset values, and so the costless impairment measurement model requires annual impairment testing. If the asset's carrying amount exceeds its fair value, the difference becomes an impairment loss recognized in the current period that permanently reduces the asset's carrying amount to a lower fair value. And so right now, if a company bought Bitcoin at, say, $50,000 and the price of Bitcoin went down to $40,000 and is now trading at $92,000, they have to show the value of Bitcoin being at that $40,000. And so that's going to be changing here come December 15th. And I think this will definitely change things for Bitcoin. We're going to see a lot of corporations start getting involved in Bitcoin, and that is going to have a huge impact on the price of Bitcoin moving forward. And so we are seeing more and more companies continue to buy Bitcoin, right? Rumble just posted that should they add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Mara is continuing to buy Bitcoin. They are a Bitcoin miner, and they're purchasing Bitcoin off the open market, right? They're proposing $700 million of convertible notes to acquire more Bitcoin. And so I think this is going to continue to happen, and it's going to start happening at a faster pace, especially in Q1 of 2025. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this here. We have Michael Saylor to present to the Microsoft board next month on buying Bitcoin for their corporate strategy. Microsoft holds $78 billion in cash. And so let's go ahead and take a look, listen to this clip here.
Let me ask you a practical question, because there's many people on this spaces right now who would like to lobby corporations to add Bitcoin to their treasury. Microsoft is facing a shareholder vote next month that would force the board to evaluate Bitcoin as a treasury asset, to which the board replied, "We already do evaluate it. This proposal is unnecessary." So just curious, do you think that these types of shareholder proposals are a good way or the best way to push Bitcoin as a reserve, or do you think there's other ways that folks on the call here could help catalyze greater adoption?
Well, first of all, I think it's a perfectly fine way to do it. And the activists that put that proposal together contacted me to present to the board, and I agreed to provide a 3-minute presentation. That's all you're allowed, and I'm going to actually post that online, and I'm going to present it to the board of directors. We also offered to withdraw that proposal if Satya Nadella would meet me, and I said I would fly to wherever he is and meet him in confidence in his office for an hour to discuss But that offer was not accepted. So you will see me putting together the 3-minute proposal for Microsoft, and it'll get posted, and we'll send it to the board. And I think it's a good and not a bad idea to put it on the agenda of every company. It ought to be put on the agenda at Berkshire Hathaway and Apple and Google and Meta, because they all have huge hoards of cash. They're all burning shareholder value.
And so we're going to have Michael Saylor providing a presentation to the board members on December 10th. And so that's something to be paying attention to, right? As more and more companies start looking into the Bitcoin strategy. And so Michael Saylor believes that Bitcoin should be on the agenda for every large corporation, including Berkshire Hathaway, Apple, Google, and Meta, right? All of these corporations that have large holdings of cash that they could be holding in Bitcoin. And so if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and hit the like button and let me know your thoughts underneath the video in the comment section on what you think about this. What do you think Michael Saylor is going to have to say to Microsoft? Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.